I'd work sort of 9 to 6 at my job, and then I'd come home and sit on the sofa, and we'd just write until until you'd be too tired and your brain wouldn't work anymore, and then we'd go to sleep, and then we'd do the same thing the next day.
Edward graduated in 2023 from Italia Conti. He has made notable appearances on both BBC's Doctors and Casualty, and has recently starred in short films Garbage Boy and Wage Your War. In addition to his acting pursuits, his directorial debut of Miss Julie, a classical text that he has adapted to reflect upon the mining strikes of the 1980s, recently finished its run at the Golden Goose Theatre. Edward Neale, welcome to the Actors Actuality podcast. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you so much for having me on, guys. How are you?
Yeah, we're good. Sensor, how are you?
Yeah, we're good. Excited to get going.
Very excited. We wanted to start back in your third year. It's been 2 years since you graduated now. If you were to do third year again, what steps would you take to get the most out of it?
I think truthfully, like a big part of third year for me is actually enjoying it. Like a lot of people in my year were falling out of love with acting. I don't know whether it's down to sort of the randomness of how roles are given out, but I feel like, some people can feel underappreciated, and if you're just making the most of it while you can, at the end of the day, it's just consistent acting. You get to sort of act every day, even if you go, I got movement today or whatever. You still do it. You're still acting with a cohort of wonderful people around you, talented people that care about it just as much as you. So it's something just to be aware of before graduating. I know it all seems like, I can't wait to get out. I can't wait to blah, 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 which is very valid, but just enjoy it. Enjoy it as well. Appreciate the time. Make the most of it. Don't skip classes.
Yeah, true. I mean, when else are you gonna be with that many people who love acting every day, working with experts? Like it's so easy to take it for granted, especially after like 3 or 4 years of it. Do you know what I mean?
Exactly that. And yeah, just working hard. Um, like, yeah, I'm very lucky. I surrounded myself with people that wanted to get the most out of it. But it's easy sometimes to take things for granted, but it's an amazing experience. Just make the most of it. It's your career at the end of the day. So yeah.
100%. So you recently came on board and assistant directed our third year showcase. Has that shifted your perspective of showcase, and would you have any advice to give to future third years for their showcase from this experience?
Yeah, it was awesome, by the way. It was really fun to work with you guys.
Thank you.
Woo! Yes.
Thank you.
I think genuinely, like, it's there's this thing where everyone sort of sees themselves as an actor, but it's all in one creative field. So for me personally, I'm trying to sort of get as many different experiences as I can within the industry, whether it's part of casting or directing or writing or whatever, because I feel like they're all different interconnected pieces. And as an actor, if you understand maybe why a writer's writing that specific line or a casting director is doing this, I feel like it can inform your choices and just give you more knowledge in general. Yeah, it was an awesome experience. Like from a casting perspective, I think what I really enjoyed seeing was when actors were making it their own, were really having fun with it. It's tough sometimes when somebody comes in with like, this is how it needs to be done, and this is how I'm going to do it. It doesn't matter how the other person is going to do it. This is how I've interpreted it. So this is the right way. And it's like, great. Like, I love that. But also, you need to listen and you need to be there present with your other partner. As you guys know, you both did an amazing job in the showcase. It's also very interesting with casting, like actually an actor's casting bracket. Because there's this thing where you need to see yourself from an objective perspective, right, within the industry. For me, a lot of my roles that I've been getting for auditions are like, because of my face or whatever, the way I look, sort of darker, more like rough. I get a lot of drug dealers, and I get a lot. I've had homeless a few times as well, which is, I'm happy if I'm getting an audition, but it's not necessarily where I would bracket myself. So I think it's about sort of knowing if the sort of casting director says to you, "Oh, I don't necessarily see you as that. I see you as this." then it's about accepting that and not being like, well, you know, I only want to play Romeo, or I only want to do this. And it's an interesting sort of insight anyway, sort of seeing how people view themselves and actually what the industry needs from you. So yeah.
So would you say it's important to be malleable with your casting then, and just to be open to new choices and like listening to your partner of the showcase? You say that those are the kind of most important things, would you say?
I'd say so. Yeah. I mean, we're all actors at the end of the day. Like, it's funny because when you get into third year and they're like, right, this is you, this is how you're going to act. This matches your personality the most. But actually, we are actors, so we can pretend and create characters if needs be. And yeah, of course, like listening to your partners and being malleable. And I think what's important for the creative team as an actor is being agreeable as well. Like, obviously, if something isn't necessarily correct for you or doesn't sit right with you, you are more than welcome to say, I'm not sure about this, this makes me feel uncomfortable, whatever. But I think it's everyone's doing a job, and as an actor it's really easy to be like very self-involved and be like, oh, but you know, I'm feeling this, I'm feeling, and being a bit like diva because it's you and it's your career. But everyone's trying to do a job. So I think just being really easy to work with, a pleasant person always helps. And yeah, that's what I'd say anyway.
A lot of our listeners will be going into third year or just emailing industry in general. Do you have any advice from your third year and 2 years in the industry, emailing industry agents, casting directors?
Yeah, I think the main thing that I picked up from Philippa, who was my head of year, now she's at Lambda, as the head of acting. She was just like, keep it nice and short, keep it concise, couple of lines. There's sort of 3 points that you need to hit. Hello, the first point being, hello, I'm Edward Neale. I'm graduating Italia Conti, and I'm doing a showcase or whatever. The second point being, why are you getting in touch with them? Hi, Martin, Curtis Brown. I love your books. I think the type of actors I've always looked up to the type of actors you represent, and I think that making sure that there's a gap in terms of your casting as well in their books. If you see someone that's in there that looks exactly like you, they're probably not gonna they might, but they're probably not gonna go, oh well, I need another one, because they've already got that covered. So doing your research. And then the third point is it's been so long since I've done it. The third point is, yeah, just inviting them to sort of what's coming up. I mean, the amazing thing about being in third year is that you've got showcases, you've got shows. I mean, showcase is probably the biggest one in terms of industry reception. But yeah, the thing is, it feels so weird, like having to sell yourself. Like, I really hate it, but it's just part of the job. Like, it's something you just have to do. And like, I still really don't like it, but you just have to bite the bullet, because if you don't sell yourself, no one else is going to at this stage. And if you believe in your talent, you need to show that to other people and show them why they should believe in your talent as well. Yeah. And sorry, as I was saying, while you're in third year, you've got consistent events happening, consistent reasons to email agents. When you graduate, it might not be as easy to say, oh, well, I'm doing a play, at the so-and-so or whatever. So it's a perfect opportunity to just really, really just sit down and do it. And it is tedious, but it is worth doing. So yeah, that's my advice.
When you emailed agents, did you cast your net wide, or did you focus on 10 to 15 that you really were interested in and went, I'm going to write a really personal email to these guys?
So, truthfully, it's not amazing. It's not amazing advice, but truthfully, I got very lucky because I sort of my agent now, James Foster, he came to the first show, and I sort of started chatting to him after that, and I was maybe a little bit blasé in terms of emails. After that, I heard a story about somebody in your year that emailed an agent, right, sort of top big agency anyway, got aired, and then emailed them again, and then the agent actually came back the second time and said, "Yeah, great. We saw you and we liked you, and we want you to do a monologue for us or whatever." And I don't know if that led anywhere, but I think that's just clearly like an amazing story where it's like, even if it seems like all the doors are closed, it's just about persistency. Not annoying them, but it's just about not giving up and just really, if you know what you want, you just got to go for it. I mean, I've seen spreadsheets of people in my year that emailed like 300 people, and I think that's amazing. And obviously, if you have the organizational skills to do that, I think it's an amazing thing to do. I didn't, and I'm not regretful about it, but there is always the question of just doing that extra little bit more. What would happen if you did that extra step?
Mm. I think as well, something to say is what I didn't realize is how few people get back to you. Like, it's absolutely brutal how many people you email and how few get back to you. And it's nothing personal, it's just
No.
they're so busy. Like, they're getting, how many actors are there compared to agents and casting directors?
Yeah, it's one of those sort of brutal facts about the industry. I think even with auditions, sort of 80% of the time, you won't hear anything. Depending on your success rate and stuff. But if it's a no, you just won't hear back most of the time. And it's really hard. It's something that you have to sort of get over quite quickly. I think it's well, do it and forget about it. I'm sure that's a cliche phrase that's still being told to you guys, but the sooner you can forget about it, the sooner you can focus on the next thing. But yeah, with the agent emails, if they ignore you, it's not because you're terrible or because you're ugly or anything like that. Yeah,
Yeah, thank
phew.
God.
Uh, it's because they're incredibly busy people that are juggling 50 plus clients, and maybe they just missed it or whatever. But don't let it get you down. Just keep emailing, and somebody will notice.
You've touched on it slightly already, but could you talk to us about the shock to the system of suddenly acting every day for 3 years to the reality of being a working actor and being out in the industry and that sort of sudden quiet that hits you?
Yeah, it was yeah, it is a shock to the system, definitely. I think, we're all told that 99% or whatever it is. I think there's actually a really interesting statistic, which is like 98% of performers won't be able to survive just based off their creative endeavors, right? So you need a job, fine, whatever. But I think the thing is, there's a sort of egotistical part of all of us, or a small dark voice in the back of our heads going, "No, you'll be all right." And actually, it's not necessarily the case. And so I was quite lucky when I sort of graduated drama school. I booked a job in third year, which was really, really cool. Which it was only a week sort of shooting for doctors, and then I did Casualty a few months after that. So it was nice. But then actually, I think the shock happened when I stopped doing stuff sort of consistently. Then it was sort of looking at the clock and panicking a bit, I think. Because I think it's very easy for us all to take for granted what we have achieved so far and not necessary and just always want more, you know, as actors. We always want more, we always want the next thing. Which isn't a bad thing, but it can drive you insane, I think. So yeah, it is a big shock, but I think the best thing to do is, at the end of the day, acting is a craft, and I found it really strange. It took me a long time to start going to classes again because it was almost like a pride thing in a very strange way. Um, that I'm not, that I'm not particularly proud of. I'm happy I'm going to classes now, but at the end of the day, like, I see it as a singing voice or muscles or whatever, and you have to keep trying and playing and failing, because it's not necessarily like at the end of the day, it's a creative career, which means that you can never be as you can never be the best. There's always room for improvement, is what I'm trying to say. So why sort of sit around and wait for the auditions to practice when actually you want to be in total 100% let's go mode? When the auditions come through, you go, yeah, great, I've just done classes for 4 weeks, I'm feeling really confident, feeling great about myself, been playing, I can do this audition and smash it, instead of using auditions as a sort of workout.
That's really interesting about like keeping the training going, because you look at sports people, for example, they're at the top of their game, but they still train every day. I think actors often don't take that same mentality. So I think it's really interesting you say keep the training going, and now you still do classes.
Well, it's funny because I remember drama school, I'd sort of take a week or two off, and then you'd come back, and I'd be like doing a reading. I'd be like, oh God, I can't, I'm not in it. Right. And that's after a week or two off of doing it for like 3 years straight. And then when you graduate, you're like, cool, like I'm trained. Uh, guess I'm ready, which like obviously you are in some regards, but why not sort of keep going, keep trying and keep getting better? Because a lot of the top actors still, I'd like to say probably the majority still have sort of coaches and whatever like that. Obviously, most people can't afford private coaches, but there's a lot of fantastic programs out there that are relatively affordable in London, and I'm sure UK wide, that like you can just dig into.
I think it's something quite exciting about. I know I personally am quite excited about building those habits coming out of drama school. Okay, when am I going to practice accents? When am I going to come together with my mates and practice a scene? Like, am I going to do a Zoom reading over the phone with people I haven't seen in a while? Like, I think it is really important to maintain those skills so that there's a constant excitement and readiness, so that when, like you say, you do get an audition, you can pounce on it as an opportunity, rather than what you're saying is like, rather than, oh, this is my practice. Like, no, that's what you should be practicing for. I think it's a really good point, and it's definitely going to be a shock. We haven't experienced it yet, but in a way, I'm quite excited to see how that goes. I think it's going to be interesting. I think, yeah,
Yeah, 100%. I'm not saying any of this to scare you
no,
as
of
well.
course.
It's actually an amazing experience, and it's just part of the journey.
You touched there that you had the opportunity to work on like Casualty and Doctors. As a graduate coming on to established sets like those, what was the feeling when they called action?
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, it's interesting with sort of medical dramas. It's all very fast paced. Um, yeah, so I was saying Doctors was my first job, right? And I was doing it in the last term of third year, so I was like really excited, like super pumped, like yeah, let's go, let's go. I'm really excited. Let's do it. Let's make some cinema. And then I got on set and sort of my storyline was like I stole a car, bringing it back to my drug dealer
Criminal.
casting. I was a car thief, and I was paired up with this sort of 85-year-old lady. But she's she's sort of very, very old school, went to RADA, sort of worked on The Elephant Man with Anthony Hopkins and Peter O'Toole. And she'd be like, oh, when I was in Baghdad with, all of these people that you definitely know. I go, oh yeah, wow, what the hell? She traveled the world doing theatre. And anyway, so we do this first scene, and it's just me on the phone. I go, blah, 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 come on, mate, like let's go for a joyride. And at the end of the scene, she wakes up in the back seat, and then we go on this whole thing, and she does, she puts me on the right path. And anyway, so she wakes up, we go to the second scene, director's like, look, right, let's do a line run, and then we'll do it, because that's how quick it is. It's like line run, director goes, yeah, maybe change this line, we'll go for a take. And then it's usually first take or second take. I'm not bigging myself up. It's just they're in a huge rush, so they usually don't have time. And yeah, so he goes, right, let's do a line run. She goes, oh yeah, fine. Pulls out script, and he goes, oh yeah, we'll just do it without scripts if that's all right. She goes, oh, but I haven't learned any of my lines. And I sat there and went, okay. that's cool, it's fine. Like, I'm just being smiley and professional, whatever. And the director's like, what do you mean you haven't learned any of your lines? You know, we've got sort of like 6 or 7 scenes to film. She's like, well, my agent told me not to, or something. I was sort of, and then for the first scene that I had with her, the director, she had her script in her hand, and then it wasn't working. You could see her just looking down at her lines, and then the director goes, right, fine, we'll have to take the script away. And so he stood outside the car feeding her lines, like saying her lines while I was in the scene. This roll, like, while we're rolling. So that was crazy. And like that was and then, you know, they sent us off to the caravan, and I was tasked with helping her learn her lines. She was telling me stories of, you know, being in Singapore with, you know, X, Y, and Z. And I'm going, oh, that's really honestly cool, but we need to have a look at the script. Yeah, it was crazy. And that was a really mental first experience, because it was like really shocked me to my core. And like, I'm very grateful that I felt prepared for that, because then it helped me sort of like, I don't know, how helped me be more calm. And like, it was strange in a way, because it sort of took the pressure off me in a in a very strange way. But it was definitely a unique experience. And then, so yeah, we sort of, but you know, she didn't know her lines at all. So we'd be doing all these scenes 8 or 9 times, you know, line by line, really. And yeah, it came out all right. She looked great in the end. You see my gawping face, I think, in a few scenes. Pure shock at what was going on. But yeah, it was very, very fast paced. We went and did reshoots for that, but that was a cool experience. And then with Casualty, again, the same. It wasn't as many scenes for me. It was actually, it turned out to be sort of like three or four, I think, which is good. Sort of a side character. It wasn't a guest lead, but it was I did have a storyline. But again, we sort of went to Cardiff, and yeah, it was cool. Like, it was a really fun set. It was a special episode where they went back in time, and I had this big red mohawk that I've got somewhere, because I made such a fuss out of it. They were like, you can just have it. I was like, yes. But yeah, that was an interesting one, because sort of the night before we shot my scenes, it was like 2 or 3 days of me just being around. And then the night before they shot my scenes, I got an email saying, oh, you know, we've made some script amendments. Because they're in such a rush. I'm not sort of saying anything against them, but it's just something that happens. And they sort of, what the problem was, because they were in a rush, all the sort of heart of the character that I loved so much, and the personalities sort of stripped away, and it turned more into an exposition-y sort of role. It turned sort of from 3 or 4 pages down to half a page, and then it was like, oh damn, that's such a shame. And then yeah, it was like 2 takes, and then it was done, and it was like, oh wow, that's it, you know. And then it's just very strange in those sort of things. I think it's different with every project you work on, but with medical dramas, it is very much like always running behind. Let's get it, we'll fix it in post, sort of thing. And then after that, it was hard, because I was getting a lot of auditions. I was very lucky to be getting a lot of auditions, but I wasn't necessarily landing any of them. And it really took, it hit my confidence a bit, which is something that I'd never really been affected before. I always fully believed in myself. But after that, it was like confidence really got knocked. And I think in those moments, because they always happen, adversity will always be a part of this sort of career. We've not picked an easy career by any chance. But in those moments, it really does test character. And it's like, how do I get my confidence back? And for me, it was doing classes and creating work, and just keep trudging along, you know, because we don't have that structure necessarily of Italia Conti anymore. So it's great. Well, I'm not going to stop. So how do I make it easier for myself, you know, or how do I be more prepared for those auditions?
Talking of those auditions, what was the timescale like from booking the job to when you started filming? How long did you have to prep?
So with Doctors, it was a self-tape, that I did, and I didn't sort of get a recall or anything. They just gave me the job, which was nice. Um, and I think that was about 2 weeks. But Casualty was really quick. Casualty was a self-tape again, and that was like a week maybe. And then sort of they got my train tickets and early mornings. So not long, not super long to prep. It's hard. It's this balance of making sure you don't overdo it, like I was saying earlier, and saying this is the way to do it. This is the right, and then not listening to your partner, obviously. But just making sure you've done all the prep, you know. But yeah, I think it's tough. I've actually got a mate that booked a Channel 4 series. I'm not going to say his name, but a very, very good friend of mine, who just booked a Channel 4 series on last Monday, and he flew out for like 9 weeks, right? Filming in Dublin for 9 weeks, and he flew out this Monday. Like, that's how quick it can be. So, and he didn't know. Like, he found out the Monday, flew out a week later. So it can be a bit like, oh, pack your bags. But yeah, I think it just depends on the project and the production and whatever. So yeah. But with mine, it was very quick.
Did you've kind of touched on it though, but did reality differ to expectation on these projects? Was it what you expected, or was it like vastly different? Did you?
I mean, like, yeah, I mean, the scale of it was crazy. It's like, 40 people or 40 people running around. They're all doing it every day, and they know exactly what they're doing. And everyone's so lovely as well. That's the amazing thing about the acting industry, is that when you are on set, you I've never met them, but everyone's just a really lovely person. There's just something about this particular industry, is that sort of, especially on the ground level, everyone's great. Everyone's pleasant to work with. I think that's probably why they're working consistently with particular productions or whatever. And they're obviously good at their job. But yeah, it was cool. It was sort of what I expected. I think it's different from my experience. It was very fast paced, and it was like a bit like, oh God, where do I look? And then it felt a bit flashy, bit like just quick, really. I think, you train at drama school for 3 years for the opportunity to do stuff like that, and then you sort of have 3 days on set, and you get maybe, well, it depends on what you're doing, but it was very much like, okay, great, you've trained for 3 years, yeah, like, try it, do it a bit more sad, we'll go for a take. Yeah, great, yeah, cool, that was nice, we'll go for take 2, just try it this time with like a little bit of this on the line. It's like, yeah, okay, that's a wrap. Yeah, let's moving on. It's like, okay, like, I could probably do it a little bit better, but it depends on the production. Like I said, like, medical dramas are so fast paced. I did a short film in last November, and that was really cool because that was like, we actually were given more time to slow down and sort of break it down a bit more. We were given rehearsal time, which is amazing, which you didn't get rehearsal time for Casualty and Doctors, which I think is a really important thing. Like, I'm sure you guys might do as well. It's not needed, but it's definitely like a nice thing to have, because you can chat to the director before and say, oh, like, I'm not sure about this line, or on this line I'm thinking this, but actually they go, oh, well, actually, I was thinking this, whatever. But that's not always a guaranteed. So yeah.
You're currently directing Miss Julie, which opens on the 15th of July, question mark? Yes.
Yeah.
Which, to be clear,
Yeah.
this would have happened once this episode is released, but at the time of recording, it is due to happen. I know you spoke earlier about being on the other side of the audition as a casting assistant director and casting. What have you learned as a director that you're going to bring to your acting?
I think as an actor, I can be very I am very passionate, and I am always respectful, but I can very much sometimes go, well, I don't agree with you. Which, as a director, if somebody does that, like, they're very more than welcome to. But actually, you just sort of have to do what they say, because that's way more helpful. And actually, the director is there to guide the piece. So as an actor, I'm going to be a lot more. I'm still going to be opinionated, but if we have a conversation, they go, "We're doing it my way," I'll go, "Yep, sweet, nice one." And I suppose as a director as well, I also adapted the piece, so that was really helpful from an acting perspective as well, because I had to sort of boil down this 100-year-old play or 150-year-old play to its bones, and then build it back up again, which you guys have written in dissertations. Writing it's a very, like, it's a hard process, like, especially for us, we're not trained in it necessarily, like, you get classes, but I think it's really, really useful stuff. Yeah, when you've built up that script and sort of everything's in there for a reason, right? So it's helped me now. I've just got an audition through. It's helped me go at this audition and go, right, this line is for this reason, this line's for this reason. This line, not sure about that. Something I might have breezed over before, but actually now I'm like, okay, from a writer's perspective, there's so much in the text. And like, as actors at drama school, we're taught to mime the text and really dig it out for the most information possible. But it's something that we can not forget to do, but maybe become arrogant's not the right word, but I think maybe overconfident that we've got everything. And then actually it's just about really digging in and yeah, it's a really fantastic experience. Like, I've got 3 fantastic actors. I've got Lucy Blott, Griff Williams, who was in my year, Lucy was in the year below, and Molly May, who was also in the year below, which were in the year above you guys. And they're all fantastic and they're brilliant and they can bring so much to it. But yeah, it's just about sort of working together and helping everyone keep a sort of open communication within the room and all of that stuff. Really hard, but I'm enjoying it. So yeah, how did you guys find your directing in your dissertations?
It was interesting. It definitely brings a new level to it, because I feel like as an actor, often when it comes to notes, if you don't get notes, you stress. But if you do get notes, you stress. Whereas actually directing, you realised how objective it is.
Yeah.
And how really it is just about, is the story coming across clearly in the way we want to present it? And that's all it is. And it definitely gave me a more objective view of what it is like to be, and how I think as actors you can take things really personally, as you do, because your craft is you, right? But it is purely objective, and it definitely helped with that mindset, I think. Yeah,
For sure, yeah. Also the importance of bringing offers.
yeah.
Like, a lot of the time I had no idea what I wanted, but when the actors brought offers, we could build on that. And that was really helpful.
Yeah, that's it. It's and I think that's so important for us as actors. It's being playful and it's being receptive to what the director wants and all of that stuff. I did an advert last week for yeah, I can say Coca-Cola. And that was mad, because that was like really technical, because of the way they need the can held, and they need you to drink it in a certain way, and you can't drink it with your left hand, and you've got to hold it with 3 fingers at the bottom. And it's like, great, that was fantastic, let's do it at double the speed. It's like, oh my gosh, this is so mad. Like, it's so much more technical. But it's all challenges for the actor. It all helps you sort of gain more knowledge and challenge. And the director came over and said, right, we're going to test your acting skills now, and sort of go, right, double the speed. And that's good. That's good to be challenged and to not necessarily be in your comfort zone all the time. I find that, going off on a bit of a tangent, but I find that if you're in your comfort zone, you're not necessarily learning anything or developing, and really sort of pushing yourself to that point where you're just a little bit out of your depth, and you go, I don't know if this is right, actually brings you the most. I think in drama school you can get very used to your colleagues and where you sort of hold yourself in the room, and actually when you go into a room full of strangers, and they're all just as amazing, if it's like, oh, okay, fantastic, like let's I need to do something, and if you do something wrong, it's like, oh my god, I need to get it back up again. And I think it's all just about challenging yourself, and and putting yourself into those positions where you don't know if you're in the right, don't know if you're a little bit too far into the deep end, and then you learn to swim a bit harder. Lovely little metaphor for you.
It's about failing, isn't it? It's about consistently failing and challenging yourself so that you can learn more. So
Exactly.
Exactly. You touched there on who these actors were and who you're directing, but how's it been directing actors that are of a similar age to you and a similar experience? Because it's not like these are people you've cast off the street. Like, you're very close with these actors. How has it been shifting that relationship to director actor rather than fellow actor?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, definitely. I think it's my first time directing, so I'm learning a lot, and they are as well. I think one big thing is like leaving your previous circumstances at the door and just coming into the room and working and focusing on the work. That's for all of us. I think it's hard to sort of separate personal and professional sometimes when you're working with people that you're extraordinarily close to, but it's very important, and I think it's a good sort of message for any rehearsal space, is that if you are having a bit of a shit time, you're very welcome to have a shit time, but don't let it affect the work. That's something Jack Cogerty always used to say to me, is that it's like, not to me personally, but it was like he didn't necessarily mind if you went on a night out, but it mattered. But then he minded if it affected the work, and he minded if you didn't come in, like really minded, and he minded if you'd bring other people down because of your actions. It's along those lines. It's been fun though. It's been really, really fun. Yeah, I think it's going to be a really brilliant play, actually. I mean, I don't know. It's scary. It's really nerve-wracking. It's the first time I've been in this position. But I'm really excited. And I'm excited for these guys as well. I think they all want it and need it a lot. And they're really putting their best foot forward for it. I'm very proud of them all. Unless they're not men.
Yeah. Talking of making work, you recently-ish did a short film with Joby Mitchell,
yeah,
which you wrote and starred in. We wanted to know a bit about where the idea came from for that film.
Well, me and Joby are dreamers, right? We like to sort of sit around and talk about all these ideas, and we really get excited about them, and just as a lot of people do. And what if we do this, and what if we do this, and then what if this character has this, revelation? And I think the thing is, sort of with a lot of these chats, is that they don't usually amount to anything. And not necessarily with us, but I think a lot of creative people in general, it's just like, you have an idea for something, it's really exciting, but then you never really end up doing anything with it, and it just sort of fizzles into nothingness. And we were sort of sat in our flat when we were living together, and we were saying, we're having all these ideas, and we were like, well, we should make one. Like, what's stopping us? Like, you hear all these stories about people filming with iPhones or filming with just anything, zero budget. And it wasn't necessarily about making a Hollywood movie. It was just about actually making something. So we had a couple of contacts, sort of friends of friends, that were also creatives and were fellow-minded, and they want to make something. And we got in touch with them, and they said, that's amazing, we'd love to sort of be a part of it. They had a bit of equipment, nothing crazy, but just a camera and some sound stuff and whatever else. And they booked their tickets. And I think once they booked their tickets to come and film with us, like, we have to do this now. We have to write this thing, because we had only half written it. And honestly, like, it's so interesting, because it's probably the hardest I've ever consistently worked for this project. I'd work sort of 9 to 6 at my job, and then I'd come home and sit on the sofa, and we'd just write until you'd be too tired and your brain wouldn't work anymore, and then we'd go to sleep, and then we'd do the same thing the next day. And we worked really, really hard on this. And I think the thing is, like, we we just wanted to make something, and it sounded so simple. But then when we were talking to people about our project that we were working so hard on, they go, "Oh my God, that sounds amazing. Can I be a part of it?" I go, "Yeah, of course. Like, please. Like, that would be what I was going to ask you. You know." And it's just about sort of finding people that I think have a similar mindset to you, that are serious about doing what they're doing, and want to sort of put their money where their mouth is. You know. And I think it was an amazing experience, because at the end of the day, we created a sort of 30-minute film. We showed it in Paris in the end, which was amazing. It's very surreal seeing people queuing out of a cinema to go and watch it. Um, and it was probably the most stressful week, but also the most sort of I've gained from an acting experience. Maybe it sort of put me back on the radar and helped me listen again and helped me clock into what was important in the script. And it was just cool. Like, it was just really fun to do. And it was really stressful, because we were doing a million jobs that would be shared between sort of 40 or 30 people. But now we've got our film, you know, and we're proud. We're really proud of that.
What were the logistical barriers in making the film?
I mean, a lot of it was sort of going, great, you know, we've got a camera, but now we need locations. As you guys know, with sort of film projects, it's locations, it's feeding people that are coming and doing it with their own time. You know, we didn't have any budget to pay people, so it was very much a guerrilla style shoot. And it sounds very, scatty, but it was just about thinking about all the sort of barriers. So yeah, feeding people, locations, housing people that were flying over from France, like keeping everyone happy. It was a nightmare. I don't ever want to do that again. It was acting, writing, producing, like it was everything. Locations, the case, every single role. But yeah, it was cool.
For our listeners who are looking to make their own work, what are the first steps they should take? Obviously, that's a very big question, but what are the sort of the first things they should think about?
Just making it, like writing it, like that's the first step. You can make work without a script, but it's all ideas and it's all fantastic and stuff, but actually the big first step is creating a script. That's sort of the only step that doesn't require budget, right? In making a piece. So like, just write a script and care about the script and just finish the script. It's like 90% of projects will just go unfinished. Like, generally, like, I have a lot of people saying to me, you know, I've got an idea and I've got an unfinished script that I'd love you to read. They're fantastic. And then it just never gets finished, and it's sad, because it's like, people have these ideas and they have these passions, but that's definitely the first step. And then whether it's getting budget and a producer and stuff like that, but before any of that, before you have to think about anything, you have to finish the script, hands down.
Cool. And our sort of final question that we're hoping to sort of build into each episode is, if you could give one piece of advice to a young actor in like just a few words, a simple sentence, what would that key piece of advice be?
Oh. What have you guys heard so far? Well, not heard, but what would you say to your younger selves, do you think?
I would say that the goalposts always move, and I've also written that in my newsletter many times, but you've already achieved things that you said would make you happy. It's a bit like what you were saying earlier, Ed, about that period after Casualty, where you felt a bit disenfranchised and unconfident. But if I told you at the start of your third year that just a few months after graduating, you would have filmed 2 BBC TV series, you would have probably bitten my hand off. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's interesting how that mentality always changes. So that's what I would say to my younger self.
And then I'd probably say just be comfortable with failing. I think it's you have to take risks, and like you were saying, go into this outside of your comfort zone. Otherwise, you'll never move forward. You just stay stationary forever, and that's not what you want.
Yeah.
I think that'd be mine. Yeah.
I think then what I would have to say is you, wherever sort of life kicks you and puts you down or whatever, you can always, even if you have to pretend, believe in your own product, and always have confidence to hold your chin up and push your chest out. And even if that means acting it, do it. Seriously, because if you don't believe in yourself, no one else will.
And would that advice stay the same if it was you specifically, your younger self? Is that what you'd say to yourself?
Yeah.
Cool.
I think so. I've sort of seen a lot of adversity, and well, it sounds fucking ridiculous, but I've we've all got our own challenges, and we've all been through our own sort of gates and hurdles and whatever. But I think for my younger self, it would definitely just be like, keep going, fight for what you want, and don't let anyone tell you different, you know?
I think that's a beautiful note to finish on. Edward, Neale, thank you very much for coming on the Actors Actuality podcast. Until next time.
My pleasure.
Thanks very much.